A leg that is 6 inches, and a hypotenuse that's 10 inches. Okay, now if it helps you to draw a picture to see that, you can totally do that. If you have a right triangle where the hypotenuse is which one?
The slanted one.
The longest one, the slanted one, the one that's across from the right angle. Okay, so they're saying this is 10. And then it says it has a leg that is 6. We don't know which leg, but we'll just stick it right there. It says find the length of the third side. So you're finding this. How do you do that?
I don't know. 6 squared plus x squared equals 10 squared.
Yeah, Pythagorean theorem. 6 squared plus x squared.
I just plug in numbers for x until it equals what 10 squared equals.
That's silly. That's extra work. Look, all you have to do is this.
Not really.
Yeah, subtract 6 squared.
Yo, I don't want to remember that. Like,
That's algebra.
I feel like my method's easier.
That's nothing to remember. Your method takes a lot longer. What if it's not a nice number? What if it's a simplest radical form?
Well, it's like, I kind of like, well, if like 6 squared, what is that, like?
36.
And then 10 squared is like 1,000 or
100.
I just figured out it's like 60 something. I plug in like 8 squared. And then
Right, but you're doing the algebra in your head. So, might as well just do the algebra, right?
No.
Yeah, 100 minus 36. Remember, hear me. If you're going to plug this into your calculator, do not plug in 10 minus 6. It's 10 squared minus 6 squared that you're plugging in. And you will get 64. And then you take the square root. So x is what?
8.
X is 8. So that's B. And you're going to be filling these in on a Scantron. So I don't care if you go through the whole thing and circle your answers and then go fill in the Scantron, or if you fill in the Scantron as you go. Just make sure that you're being careful with what numbers you're plugging in. All right, number 2. You had like one like this on the other portion as well. What type of triangle is this?
An isosceles.
It's isosceles, which means these two angles are the same, which means they are how big?
That is Jojo's mom.
Yeah, that is Jojo's mom.
Miss Valerie.
Right? 45, 45, 90.
She's too far.
Okay, so in a 45, 45, 90, what do you do?
Sorry, I just missed Miss Alpha.
Is that
17? It's 17 rad 2.
It's 17 rad 2. It's not the one that doubles it. That's the 30, 60, 90. You double the side. This one is, you have L.
Wait, is it 7?
And L rad 2, right? So if L is 17, then this is 17 times the square root of 2. Okay?
Can you zoom out so I can see the first
Hamburger.
This one seems harder than the other.
This one seems harder?
Yeah.
Nuh-uh.
No.
So far.
We'll see.
It's literally the same math.
Okay. So this is D, right? Number 2 is D. Okay, number 3. Says find the area of a triangle. If I were you, I would write the formula for that on your sheet. What is the area of a triangle formula?
A squared plus B squared equals I'm retired.
Area.
Base times height.
That's a parallelogram.
Oh.
What's a triangle?
Plus B triangle equals C triangle.
No.
Wow.
1/2, right? Base times height.
Oh, good job.
Okay, thank you. So area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. In this triangle, what are your base and your height?
15 and 8.
Yeah, it's the two that are perpendicular. So whatever's perpendicular is what you're going to use as B
120, it's 60.
and H, right? So you're going to say 1/2 times 15 times 8. What'd you say?
60.
Yeah, half of 6 or half of 120.
Wow,
Okay. Again, plug it into the calculator. Unless you're Forrest and you want to do it in your head.
No, he's a
You
surgeon.
know who's a good doctor?
I do.
Oh,
He has like
All right, number 4. This is a 30, 60, 90. Talk me through a 30, 60, 90. So we usually set it up like this. You might want to put this on your cheat sheet, or maybe you want to lay it on its side like it is right now. That's fine. In a 30, 60, 90, if this is L, what's the hypotenuse? What's this side?
It's L times 2. So
2L. And then the last side across from this 60 is L rad 3. So look at this triangle. You are given which side?
That means 12.
Right. You're given the 2L side, right? That's this side. That means divide by 2, and L will be 12. Which of these two sides is your L side? Z or the bottom?
Z.
It's the Z. It's the one across from 30, right? Across from 30 is L. So Z is 12.
She's done a just.
Okay?
You got a tail.
So that's A. Z is 12. Good there?
Are we gonna have to know how to find the area of the circle? Because on the last question it was like find the area of the circle, and I didn't know the formula. I didn't write it down, so I just guessed.
Could you star the ones that you want?
then I got it right.
Like should you want on your card?
Because I just put
I mean,
pi r squared.
It's every one of these is there. So I would put this on your note card, right? I would put this on your note card. Okay, this is a dilation. What is a dilation?
It's like the size
Smaller.
change.
It grows or it shrinks, right? Dilation. It's changing size. It says, is it an enlargement or reduction? And then choose the scale factor. So you have 4 options. 2 of them you should be able to knock out really quickly. If you go from X, Y, Z, and then prime is the new one, is this an enlargement or a reduction? It's an enlargement. So that rules out those ones. Okay. Is your scale factor the pre-image over the image or the image over pre-image? Right. I would write that down if I were you. Image over pre-image. Okay. What is the image number? Do you have a question? Because when have you ever? Oh, it's you have an answer. What's the image?
B.
Does that even count? 30 over 12.
30 is the image, right? This is your image number whenever it has the prime. So 30 over 12.
It's A.
But good job, Forrest.
Image over pre-image.
So 30 over 12, both of those are divisible by 6. So 5 over 2. So that is A.
That doesn't make sense though. What?
Why did it say?
No, it totally does. Think about this.
But why is the bigger number on top?
Well, think about it. I'm going to explain that to you. If it's an enlargement, right, the number 5 over 2 is 2.5. So you are multiplying by 2.5 times what it was, right? Whereas if it's a reduction, then it should be a fraction of the size. So then it's 2/5 if it's reducing. But if it's growing, it's 5/2. It's 2.5 times bigger.
Okay.
So an enlargement,
I'll just remember that on the test.
here's the other thing, guys. If it's an enlargement, it's supposed to be a number bigger than 1, right? So you should be able to rule this one out without even knowing any of the other information.
So yeah, if it's enlargement, automatically like the bigger number over small number.
Uh-huh. If it's a reduction, it's smaller number over bigger number. Okay, this one, and I wrote this on the thing too. Use SOHCAHTOA, okay? How do you set this one up with SOHCAHTOA?
Oh, it's adjacent and hypotenuse.
Yes. So you start at the angle. You have the adjacent side.
Cosine.
You have the hypotenuse. So that is the cosine. What always comes after the trig function?
Oh, isn't it 62?
Yeah, always the angle. So cosine 62 equals what?
12.
x over 12. Okay, so you're here. How do you get x by itself? Multiply by 12. So multiply by 12 here, and that makes that 1. But whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So this is what you should plug in. Plug that into your calculator and tell me what you get.
Who's that? Wait.
5.6.
5.6.
No.
So that's D.
My dad isn't a woman.
Oh, I was right about the first name. Grayson.
So what is that?
Oh, I was almost right. Grayson.
Why is she walking so slow?
All right, number 7. Pay attention to what they tell you it is, right? This is a parallelogram. What's the area formula for a parallelogram? Base times height. What do you use? Stop and think about this one. What do you use as your base?
The 6. No, the 13.
19.
19,
Oh, come
right?
Oh, you add them together.
This whole thing. Okay? So make sure you use the whole base, right? Yes, you could break this into a triangle, and a rectangle. You could do all of those, but it's way more work. The whole point is use the formula that makes it the most simple, right? So your base is 19 because you're adding the 6 and 13. Which one's your height?
8.
It's got to be the one that's perpendicular. So this is the height. This is the base. So 19 times 8, and you get 152. Letter B.
It's mine. No, never mind.
That looked like John Ross Jones.
No, it's not.
You're racist.
That's just
That's
racist.
not. That's
That's
not.
racist.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
No.
No, that has to be
Can
a
I
real
go
thing.
can I go get highlight?
That is not
it's not
racist.
racist.
You guys are
Nothing like
so
his mama.
ridiculous.
No, that's
I
no,
know
what's his
why-
name? The senior. He's friends with Lance.
Oh,
Ezra.
Yeah,
Ezra, the smarty pants guy.
You just jealous.
All right.
Smarty pants.
Look at number 8. I'm really gonna miss you guys next year. Really gonna miss you. Tan A. Okay. Where do you start if I want to find the tangent of A? Truett and Forrest. Where do you start if you want to find the tangent of A?
The right angle? I don't like. Wait. Ratio tan A.
Where do you always start with SOHCAHTOA? The angle. Which angle are we working with?
The right angle.
Tan A, right? So if you start at A,
Oh, is this one where you have to use the protractor?
no, it's a ratio. It's just the tangent.
opposite of A
Um,
and the adjacent of A.
Yes. Remember, tangent is opposite over adjacent. So from A, which one's your opposite?
Over 8.
Cadence. Opposite is 8.
Oh, yeah.
Adjacent is
Over.
the 15, right? So your ratio, yeah, because this is across from the right angle, right?
Wait, is it because the
This is the
50's
hypotenuse. Your opposite and your adjacent will always be touching the right angle. So what's your answer?
It's B.
B,
It's
8
over 15.
over 15. So B is your tan A ratio. Okay, since that was a bit of a struggle, let me give you another one.
Please, that was not a struggle.
We just needed a reminder.
Right, and now I want to make sure that the reminder helped.
Okay.
Tell me what is
Have you seen the new Guardian?
the cosine of C?
No, I want to.
I'm gonna legally.
Forrest, I'm gonna kick you out if you're gonna keep changing the subject. You don't get to ask me a question about movies I've seen lately.
Oh, you
Pay attention. What is the cosine of C? What's the ratio? What over what?
Adjacent
Oh, are you
over
using that
hypotenuse.
problem?
Using the same picture.
It's adjacent over hypotenuse.
Which is what?
8 over
8 over 17. Adjacent is the one next to C. Hypotenuse is the one across from the right angle. Okay? So what is the sine of A?
8 over, no.
Yes.
8 over 15.
8
over.
over 17.
Oh, I was about
Right?
to say that.
I know, that's why I said yes. Opposite over hypotenuse, right? 8 over 17.
Oh.
So make sure you're clear on which trig function is which and what you're starting from. You always start from whatever letter is given in the problem.
My brain.
Okay?
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, this one. It's a 45, 45, 90. And you know the hypotenuse. So this is your L, and L rad 2. Do you remember the shortcut when you know the hypotenuse? What do?
You cut it in half. Right?
You cut it in half.
It's 7 rad 2.
And multiply by rad 2. So it's this one. Okay? The other way you could do it, because you know this is x, you also know this is x, you could do the Pythagorean theorem. X squared plus x squared equals 14 squared.
That seems like so much
And
harder though.
it is. This way is a shortcut. This way is the more like do the math way. But I don't care which one you do. Do the math way, do the shortcut way. That's up to you. Okay. Questions on that?
Oh. No.
Okay, there is a problem just like this on the final. But I didn't tell you which one to use as your base, but I want you to use the one that we always have been using as our base. So we're gonna say these top and bottom are our bases, okay, for the final two.
12.
So this is a formula you're gonna want to write down on your note card because it's not on there for you. This is a rectangular prism. Do you remember the formula for the lateral area of a rectangular prism?
No, Miss Marie.
Does anyone remember it?
Wait, what'd you
It was P times what?
say?
H. Okay, so write that down. Down here, we're doing surface area. That one is surface area equals the lateral area plus how many bases?
2.
2 bases. So write that down on your note card also. Maybe you want to write on your note card that P equals perimeter of the base. Good. Okay, and H equals the height of the figure, which is always the distance between the bases.
Is the perimeter 32?
Yes.
And times that by 8?
Well, hold on, we'll get there.
Okay.
Okay, what does B stand for, the capital B?
Base.
What about it?
Base.
It's the area of the base, which in a rectangular prism is base times height. Okay, so there's a lot of information for this one, right? It's just a matter of, can we plug it in appropriately? So if our lateral area is P times H, P is the perimeter of the base. To find the perimeter of the base, you're finding what? Or you're doing what? Remember, perimeter is the distance around. What do we do with that? 12 plus 4 plus 12 plus 4, right? The distance all the way around that will be your perimeter. So 24 plus 8 is 32 for P. And then we're going to multiply that by H. And what did H stand for? Height of the figure, which is what value? How tall is that figure? 8. This is the 8. So 32 times 8 is 256 square centimeters. Okay, so over here, that's letter A. All right, so then you come down to surface area. We already know the lateral area, that's 256 plus 2. How do we find capital B right now? How do we find the area of this rectangle?
4 times 12.
Yeah, base times height, or 4 times 12. So capital B is 12 times 4, which is 48. That goes here. So 2 times the area of the base. So it's 256 plus 96 is 352. Make sense? And that is letter B.
No.
Okay, remind me what a rigid motion is.
I know it looks like.
It gets bigger or smaller.
It's
What?
A, C.
It doesn't get bigger or smaller, right? A rigid motion won't change size. Okay, so which transformations here are rigid motions? Which ones change
C.
size?
Oh.
B.
A dilation, right?
Just B.
Changes size. Oh, are rigid motions. Sorry, I said that wrong.
Yeah.
Don't change size. Did I say do change size?
You said no.
Oh, but I circled the wrong one. So the ones that don't change size are everything but the dilation. Dilation is the only one that's not a rigid motion,
Yes.
right? A glide reflection slides and flips, but doesn't grow or shrink. A reflection just flips over. A rotation would just turn. So the only one that changes size is the dilation.
Are you okay?
Okay, take a look at these numbers. It says, which of the following are not Pythagorean triples? How do you find out?
Square 'em.
Plug it into the Pythagorean theorem, right? You're going to check 3 squared plus 4 squared and see how that compares to 6 squared. You're going to plug in 5 squared plus 12 squared and see how that compares to 13 squared. 8 squared plus 15 squared, how does that compare to 16 squared? And 7 squared plus 24 squared, how does that compare to 25 squared? Okay.
I think it's C.
I think so.
Which are not Pythagorean triples. It is C.
Okay.
Because this one, 5 squared plus 12 squared equals 13 squared. This one's equal. So that is a triple. 7, 24, 25. 7 squared plus 24 squared is 625. 25 squared is 625. So that is a Pythagorean triple. But this one is not, and this one is not. So 1 and 3 are not triples. So that's letter C.
Fortune is bad.
Okay.
I like that you can see all the old problems on this thing. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. You can on your calculator too. If you arrow up, you can go to previous stuff.
15.
Huh.
Yeah, that's how I use like all the brute force stuff. Is I use the arrows and then I just change the number
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like that's just easier.
It is. But you don't always like the easier way.
Huh?
But you don't always like the easier way. Like 10 squared minus 6 squared is a lot quicker than trying to guess in your head what that Pythagorean triple would have been.
No,
What type of math is this?
What is it?
This like months ago.
2 times negative 16. Is that
2
algebra 1?
times negative 6. Oh, that could have been any of them.
That's like 5th grade.
Okay, last 3. And I feel like these are the ones you guys did pretty well on. This says, what is the image of A? That means A is your pre-image. Okay, so you're starting here. Under a translation of 3, negative 2. So translate that point, 3, negative 2, and tell me where you think you're going to be.
Over there.
B.
C.
B.
It's
No, it's not. not. It's B.
Why would it be C? It's
Yeah,
B.
you're wrong. You're wrong.
What?
Okay. 3, negative 2.
Like,
3 is 3 to the right. Negative 2 is 2 down, right? So you're going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. That puts you right there. What, name that point?
it's
B.
That is not the name of the point.
Or
1, 0, right? 1 to the right, 0 up and down from the origin. So that's B.
What did I
15 is A.
Wait, where?
What did I do?
So from point A, you moved 3 to the right and 2 down.
Yeah.
1, 2.
So that puts you at 1. That's the point 1, 0. Okay, the translation that takes you from C to A. You have to start at the right place. What?
They're all 2 and 6. That's all I know.
I know, but which one?
That's how you get.
It's 6-2.
Okay, so here's the deal. To get from C to A, you always do X, Y, X, Y, X, Y, X, Y.
It's B.
So,
It's
to get,
C.
you're both wrong.
It's A. It's
Um,
A. You're both wrong.
If you start at C and you go to A, it is 1,
Oh, I thought it
2,
was
3,
A to C.
4, 5,
Oh, I went down
6
there.
left,
I was
No!
the only one right.
I went down first.
right?
I thought it
And
was
then
A to
1, 2 down,
This is eye-opening.
okay?
Let's go.
I have to
6
give
left
attention to detail.
is a negative 6. 2 down is a
Then
negative
go, I
2.
was right.
That is A.
Yeah.
It's
Okay?
A.
You always go left and right first and then up and down, right? If you're thinking of it's like this, left and right,
I probably got 16 wrong too.
up and down.
What's the image?
Okay, here's another thing you probably want to write on your thing if you have not already. Which axis is the x-axis?
We don't have service.
Which axis is the x-axis?
It's the horse.
It's the horizontal,
Oh.
right? So this is x,
Oh, it's C.
this is y. So if we're going to reflect over the y-axis, the letter A, here's A, okay? Over the y-axis, over this, what do you do?
The answer is also A.
How do you do it?
Because you just flip it over the line.
You flip it over that line. You're 2 to the left, so you need to go 2 to the right. 1, 2. What point is that?
A.
2, 2.
He said 2-2.
What?
Hey, you guys got winners.
What the freak?
You're naming this point, right? Here's 0, 0, 2, 2.
Oh,
I am so
I need to redo my hair. It's giving me a
Okay.
headache.
I'm just so good at.
Okay, here's what you're gonna do.
What are we doing?
You have a note card. You have all of the things you just filled in. Put those things on your note card right now.
They're already here.
Then you don't have to mess with it later. You've got it done. And then you can just plan on bringing that tomorrow